Hello again, everyone. Keta Kosman, publisher of Madison's Lumber Reporter. So here we are, it's the middle of November, and as is usual for this time of year, lumber sales and prices are lower and softening. We had this week in Canada the Remembrance Day holiday on Tuesday. This is a very important day off for Canadians in observance of our veterans who fought in the World Wars. Also, this week was the large convention for the lumber traders. North America Wholesale Lumbermen's Association, NAWLA, had their big meeting, so a lot of people were away from their desks this week, and there still wasn't really that much activity in terms of lumber sales. Being able to now look at the course of this year as the price went up and down over the season as expected, and looking forward to generally just the slow grind now over the next few weeks until really things shut down for the year. The prices have had a nice trend line, especially in comparison to the past 2 years. And so let me explain a few things. I will be showing you the graphs, don't worry. We have for this week of November 14th, the Madison's Lumber Prices Index, which is constructed in the same method as the sales on lumber futures on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. The index this week is down 6% compared to the same week last year, but is up 9% compared to the same week in 2023. And the high for that was in middle of March, $60 higher than it is right now, okay? For the benchmark Western Spruce 2x4, currently in the middle of November now, that price is down 8% from the same week last year, but is up 6% from the same week in 2023. And the high for that was in mid-March, where it was $150 higher than it is now. And about $150 up and down seasonally over the year is back to the historical changes that were happening prior to COVID and 2020 to 2022, when a couple of things happened to send lumber prices going crazy. Thankfully now, for the past couple of years, we are back to not that incredible volatility that we saw then. As for Southern Yellow Pine on the east side, now my suspicion what happened there is that those manufacturers tried to increase their prices by too much a couple of years ago. So it doesn't look as good right now as there is a correction down to what the market will bear. Okay, so this week, Southern Yellow Pine 2x4 on the east side is down 23% compared to the same week last year, and is down 12% from the same week in 2023. And the high for that was in mid-April, which was $180 higher than it is right now. Don't worry, I'll show you the graphs, don't worry. So what is being reported now for the past few weeks among the lumber selling and buying is big price spreads between the same product from a different supplier and between comparable products from a different species or region, which is not that particularly usual for this time of year, and it's definitely not usual when inventories are as low as they are right now. So that kind of indicates that really a lot of people don't understand what's happening and are just floundering, trying to figure out what they can do to buy or sell whatever small pieces of wood they need from now until the end of December. So in terms of the Canadian supply into the US, given that apart from the market conditions, which is what I normally talk about, other changes affecting, which is political, and the first one was the duty, which we had a lot of warning and we knew that was going to happen, doubling. In advance of that, the Canadians in the weeks prior tried to increase incrementally their prices to see how much of that duty the American customers would be willing to absorb. It did not take effect and had to correct back down. So at this point, essentially, the Canadians are bearing the entire brunt of that higher increased duty. Very, very punishing. Now, that is normal when the market is soft. Over these now decades, we are in softwood lumber dispute number 5. Whenever the duty comes on or increases during a time when the market is soft, when sales are low, when customer demand is low, the Canadians are not able to pass a part of that duty on to the customer. For the tariffs, the first one, the sort of blanket tariff, lasted about a day and a half. Let's not talk about that. But this most recent one that came on in September was as a result of there was 2 executive orders that President Trump made very early in the year. The result of one of those executive orders regarding import of foreign wood into U.S. increased a tariff by 10%. That was not just on softwood, it was also on hardwood. It wasn't just on construction framing lumber, which is what we normally talk about. It was also on furniture components, cabinetry, a lot of other things that go into a home that don't actually, support the home. And so that also, in advance of that tariff coming on, the Canadians incrementally over the previous weeks tried to bump up their prices to take into account the tariff, and that got rejected. The counter offers were very strong, and it bumped back down to where it had been previously. So the constraint for Canadian and other countries, but let's just be real, it's Canada that US buys our lumber. The constraint is now having Canada pivot. And at this very week, British Columbia government, industry associations, as well as lumber companies are in Asia on a big, big trade mission. We do it. It's not the first time by any means, but this time it is really to make concrete agreements for more buying of Canadian lumber in Asian countries. Very successful mission just ended in Japan. Japan is a very important customer for British Columbia, but Canadian lumber, a lot of coastal species. When I talk about the lumber prices in general here, I'm discussing standard grade, number 2 and better, construction framing. Japan buys premium grade, number 1. It's euphemistically known as J grade. It almost doesn't even get sold in North America. It's beautiful, beautiful, clean, clear white wood. Excellent. 6% of Canadian lumber goes to Japan consistently over decades. This is a higher value product. So that's very important to us and is now going to be, they'll let us know the details, but there was a lot of different agreements and a lot of conversations with different players in Japan. Currently, this big trade mission is in South Korea. And so here this week, I'm doing a little bit of an additional promotion. We have among our monthly publications, if you want to look to see what we do, not just the weekly lumber prices, but some newsletters that we do every month, have a look at the website. There's a link in the caption. The Madison Sawmill Curtailment Lookout, which we started doing a few years ago, tracks, it comes out at the end of every month and tracks changes to manufacturing at North American facilities. Whether it's downtime, lots of curtailments going on. Let's say if there was a sawmill fire or a mill log yard fire, investment, changing the product mix of what that mill does, or even brand new sawmills being announced, which has also been happening. So what I'm doing here, and I'll show you, don't worry, there's graphs coming up. What I'm doing here is letting people see the October issue. Okay, and there is a link here in the caption to download the PDF, and you can have a look for yourself. That excellent data to decide if you would like to subscribe to that, or indeed to subscribe to the lumber prices dashboard and see all 500 individual softwood lumber and panel commodity prices across North America that we track every week since 1952. I'm the third owner. Okay, so starting with the index, Madison's Lumber Prices Index is comparable exactly to the lumber futures. Whenever I plot a graph of the two using the Friday close of futures, the trend lines match almost exactly. So that black line lingering through the middle is this year. It looks flat compared to the great volatility of 2021 and 2022. Starting in January, that 2021 line will disappear, the darker one, and the top of the scale will change from 1700 to 1500, making the other years look more dynamic. But as I was saying, for a up and down throughout the year of $60 per thousand board feet is pretty normal and shows a nice stability returning for industry. This is the same data presented as a table. You can see what the prices are in the green column toward the left for this week compared to the previous week, the change in dollar amount and percentage going all the way across month ago, year ago, and 2 years ago. None of this is really insane, and so the stability of price changes throughout the season, as normally happens when housing starts are going, is returning and makes it a lot easier for industry, whether they are a manufacturer or a home builder, to be able to see what they can do in the coming months to make their plans for their sales or their purchases. This is a special treat I'm offering for this week. The Madison Sawmill curtailment lookout went to subscribers last week on Friday. No need to take a screenshot. You can download the full PDF from the caption here. But as you can see, quite a list of changes with manufacturing of lumber, pulp and paper, and container board, and mass timber or cross-laminated all across North America. All right, so back to the prices, drilling into some detail here. We have what we call the top 6 benchmark lumber prices. The ones that I generally talk about, Western spruce, Southern pine, and Eastern spruce, are the pink line, the yellow line, and the blue line. And you can see they are higher than they were at the same time 2 years ago in 2023. So we watch this very closely to get an idea of what people can expect going forward. One thing people might want to take a look at here is the teal colored line. This is plywood. Very important. You cannot build a house without some kind of panel, whether it's OSB or plywood. And that price did spike up quite a bit 1 year ago in October 2024 and is starting to look like it might reach that level again, but we'll have to see. We don't know yet. All right, and then this is the same data presented as a table, giving you a good overview of this week compared to last week, and then compared to the same week 1 month ago. And yeah, it's down. Prices are down. That's normal for this time of year. Could have been a lot worse, but the sellers have got hammered already starting in August and just were not able to keep prices up, and demand is so soft the customers are able to pound down on the counter offers and get a lower price, or they'll just take their business elsewhere and the seller is out of luck. And then here we have that Western Spruce 2x4, number 2 and better price I show you all the time. The blue line, 2025. This is what I was saying in the beginning. You can see how last week this price matched last year. And this week, this price is almost at 2 years ago. Okay, so that yellow line last year, that looks really good. It's quite stable, up and down here with the blue line this year. That's what I was talking about, where the mills were trying to tick up the price to take into account the increase in the duty. The second bump there in September is the tariff, got rejected, back down, actually almost a little bit lower than it was prior to that, which that's also not surprising given how soft construction activity is. So once again, starting in the next year, we'll have a new line and see where things are at that time. And then the last one here, Southern Pine, as I was saying, that price peaked in the middle of April. You can see quite a bit higher than it had been at the same time the previous year. This is in result of probably weather, other situations going on with macroeconomic conditions. But at this point, as that blue line is heading towards the end of the year, it is much lower than at the same time in 2024 and looks closer to 2023, which was rising, unusual for the time of year. And that's what I mean about people who really need to know what's going on with the market log in every week to see what their items that they care about, those prices are doing exactly on time. Okay, and so in terms of the greater landscape, it's a little bit difficult to know what's going on or has been happening for the last month or two because we don't have the data. No housing starts came out, the log export data, all that stuff that we usually look at here to see what the market is doing or what the operators are doing, and also which are incorporated into my lumber price dashboard. Folks can plot the price of the wood against the whichever they choose of the 18 different macroeconomic indicators. We will do our best to catch up. I'm seeing some announcements that some months the data will not come out. It wasn't in relation to lumber. It was something like jobs. I'm not sure. I'm just hoping that we'll catch up to get the real numbers because we need to see it at the end of the year to be able to know how this year really landed and have an expectation for next year. In that regard, as I mentioned, the executive orders, the one about lumber already had been submitted, its results to President Trump, and the new tariff was came on because of that. The other one was about opening up the forests in the U.S. To do a study of what availability of merchantable timber is there on the public land base, U.S. Forest Service, and Bureau of Land Management. The states have had different responses to this. Some states are gung-ho, open it up, get things going. Other states are wrangling legality issues, the roadless rule, and other things that still need to be determined. So that executive order, the results were mandated to come out actually, I think at the end of November, or potentially December. So we will see what the decision will be by the U.S. administration in regards to that. There's a lot of people who study this. Timber land appraisal is a huge industry in America or other countries where there is private timberland. So the word that I got from the Pacific Northwest, so for the West Coast states, is there is a good amount of cubic meters of timber that could go to sawmills. In some other states, there's timber, but it's not merchantable timber. And there's no sawmill remotely nearby. It takes 3 years to build a sawmill. Okay, so it's going to be very interesting what happens next year if this pent-up demand for housing construction has been very muted now for the past 3 years with the high interest rate and high home prices putting people off from making their first purchases while the demographic marches on and the age of the number of people achieving first-time homebuyer age is now greater than what the housing starts have been. Okay, so if they're not getting their lumber from Canada and they need 3 years to build their own sawmills, nobody's really sure what's going to happen there. Okay, So next year is going to be very interesting. I hope you like this. If you like what you see here, click like so this video will get recommended to other viewers. Subscribe here on YouTube so you'll be notified when we make another video. And if you need more than these small overview snapshots that I do on YouTube and what we put on the website, here in the caption is a link to fill out the form. We'll send you a sample. You will see the list of the 500 individual softwood lumber and panel commodity prices that we track and what is the price this week. You can decide if that is worthwhile to you. We'll send you an invoice and you can get a login for yourself to the dashboard, see what the new prices are overnight on Thursday every week, Friday morning, whenever it's convenient for you to log in and have a look, see the graphs, see the data, make your comparison charts, look at the macro indicators, and read the commentary. All of this stuff that I say, sawmill order files, inventory, log supply, it comes out of our dashboard.